Hello there, beautiful. You are not here by accident. You are here to be seen, heard, and supported. My name is Kim Parkinson, podcast growth coach, and I am here as the host of the Podcasting for Spiritual Women podcast. And let's talk about something that makes a lot of spiritual women cringe: marketing. And specifically, marketing your podcast. But here's the truth. You can have the most powerful, soul-stirring podcast in the world, but if no one knows it exists, it can't create the ripple it's meant to. So today, we're going to be exploring how do you share your podcast without feeling salesy, and how do you promote your podcast in a way that's authentic, intuitive, and, let's face it, still effective. We really want that to be seen, right? And this, my friends, I am calling soul-led marketing. Traditional marketing just really has that feeling of ick, right? That feeling, people call it bro marketing. And if you've ever felt overwhelmed by the idea of constantly posting, creating content, or selling yourself on social media, you're not alone. So many of my clients, intuitive coaches, priestesses, tarot readers come to me and they're saying, I love creating my podcast, but I hate the marketing. And why is that? It's just traditional marketing often tells us to push your message, push your call to action, be louder, post more, use scarcity. Oh, I hate that one, right? The scarcity, the FOMO, the urgency. You're chasing the clicks. You're seeing how many times people will view your content. And it drives me crazy. But if you're listening to this show, that's probably not how you operate. And the soul-led marketing is about resonance, not necessarily reach. You're not trying to reach everyone. You're trying to reach that ideal client, that ideal listener, that ideal person. And it is rooted in connection, authenticity, and showing up as your full, true self. Whether or not that is sharing stories, sharing your modality, sharing your wisdom, sharing your knowledge, it asks, what would it look like to invite people into your podcast rather than chase them? What if marketing felt like an extension of your message, not a mask that you might wear? And here's the thing. You already know how to market intuitively. You share your favorite books with friends, you recommend your favorite tea, you talk about that new cream that you really love. Maybe you talk about a hairdresser that is one of your favorites. You tell stories, and that changes your life and others around you. And your podcast is just an extension of your sacred voice, and that alone is magnetic. Here are a couple of ways that I can see sharing your podcast in a soul-aligned way. First, I want you to always speak from the heart. Instead of saying, new episode out now, share why it matters. I think my pet peeve in the podcasting industry is when I go to show notes and I read, in this episode, I actually will request that never happens. Occasionally, there's nothing else to say, or occasionally it just does happen. But I just really feel like that is so unaligned with what I'm about. So I don't ever say in this episode if I can help it. What I really want you to do when, instead of saying new episode out there, is maybe say this week's episode came through after a client session where I realized how many of us are afraid to launch before we're ready. If that's you, you're not alone, and I recorded this just for you. How magical is that? You're really speaking right directly to them, right? You're saying, this is for you. I have created this for you. And if they resonate with that, they're definitely going to listen and follow you along that client and customer journey. Now, when you are also doing this and you're creating those quote graphics and those audiograms and the Instagram carousels with beautiful designs and intentional captions, make sure that you're using colors, words, and symbols that match your energy. So bring in some sacred geometry, bring in those beautiful lions, bring in the sunset, bring in the tarot, bring in whatever it is that really speaks to you. You want to make sure that those are prominent and displayed so that people can really get that sense of who you truly, deeply are. And then weave all of that information into your emails, right? Your podcast is the anchor content for your week, but then you'll want to maybe think of a short story or think of something that will coincide with that episode to really get people more involved. You don't want it to be a regurgitation of the episode. You don't want to just say, hey, new episode out this week, please go listen. Share something else that will really bring that listener to your podcast from the newsletter, right? It's a companion. It's not an advertisement. It's a companion piece. And it's more powerful than you think because people are not only going to be drawn to your podcast, but they're also going to be drawn to your newsletter, which then you can directly sell them to in both formats. But overall, newsletters do have a tendency to complete that transaction. And by really showcasing who you are on your podcast and then offering that companion material in your newsletter, you're really going to just really drive home your ideas and what it is that you're selling, you're offering. And don't reinvent everything, right? We talked a little bit about this last week. You don't want to take each episode and just create new content every week, right? You want to record your podcast and then you want to repurpose that into several pieces. And whether or not you use ChatGPT for this or whether or not you use maybe Cast Magic or something else like that, this content that you are speaking could then create blog posts, reels, quote graphics, live stream topics, Pinterest pins, newsletters. I mean, the ideas, YouTube shorts, YouTube videos even. It can just keep creating content. And the beauty of it, it doesn't have to happen the same week you release the episode. If you have episodes in the bank and you've never created any kind of buzz around them, if those are still how you teach, if those are still the same modalities that you're talking about today, there's nothing wrong with going back and showcasing them again and again. And if you feel like hiding, what would make you feel light right now? Can you batch graphics? So maybe every first week of the month has the same graphics, and the second week of the month has the same graphics, and the third week of the month has something similar to the first and second, but still same graphics. And don't make it overcomplicated. Try to create something that has a little bit of your essence in it, your pieces in it, but make it easy too. Don't try to reinvent the wheel every week with new graphics. Just create a couple and then repurpose them as well over and over again. And then it is okay to use a scheduler, whether you're using Later or Metricool, or maybe you're going direct right into the Facebook Meta scheduler right there. You could do that. Any kind of a scheduler to make your life a little bit easier. You could then be sending that out right after the podcast airs. You could send out some quote graphics, and then a little bit later, maybe a reel, and the next day your newsletter, and then maybe you created some type of a blog post based on your transcript, and that gets published, and just a little bit of something, a live stream right after that. And a live stream can be in your car even, right? It doesn't have to be sitting in your office, or it can be outside with your chickens, with your dogs, with your life going on, your kids' soccer game. You do not have to create a live stream right in your office every time. And maybe you have just one really poignant sentence that you want to share, and that can be shared over and over again. A story, it can be shared as a quote graphic, anything like that. So just a couple of little tidbits of things that you could gather from that one podcast episode. And my next thing I just want to also reiterate is that consistency does build trust. So if you show up every week, or how often you do. So if you're every other week, that's fine. But make sure that every other week or every week, your listeners know that you're going to be back, because they won't be disappointed, right? They're not going to be looking for that and saying, oh, maybe she's no longer in business. Maybe she's sick. Maybe something's happened. Oh, maybe I don't want to work with her because, she can't be consistent with her podcasts. And I don't know, maybe she's just not that type of a person. I don't know. It could be lots of different things that go through people's heads, right? Lots of different things. The beauty of a podcast is really, I'm not dancing for you here, right? I am here. I am in my office. I am recording. I'm recording this particular one on a Saturday morning. And I love that I'm able to do this. I can actually batch a couple of them. This is the second for the day, and I think I'm going to do one more today, and that's 3 in one Saturday morning. And let me tell you, I grabbed my coffee, and it is only 9 a.m., and I was able to get 2 episodes done here, and like I said, almost 3 before 10 a.m., and I don't feel that crushing, I got to get it right. People are going to be looking at me. People are going to be judging me because I was dancing or because I was, had to come up with a really cool post for a reel. I don't have to feel any of that. It's not draining to me. This is just me speaking from my heart to you directly. So you don't have to perform. You can really feel real and rooted and honest in your own voice. And that's so important. And marketing is just that echo of the voice in a few places, right? So think of it like that. You're creating that podcast, and then you're creating an echo around that. Whether or not that echo is going out into an Instagram reel, or whether or not you are creating something for your blog, your newsletter, they're all echoes of the original piece, your voice, your podcast. The more that you're going to trust yourself, the more aligned your strategy becomes. And believe me, this is true. I struggled for years on how to create and how to put myself out there. And it wasn't until I was really pushed. And I will say that I was pushed to create this podcast. And I'm glad I was, because I really, truly feel like I've always done a really great job of coaching myself when I talk and getting my story out there and getting my wisdom and my knowledge out to the world. It is really lighting me up. It's really making me want to continue to do this. So it has a deep-rooted satisfaction piece for me personally, and hopefully for you and your podcast. So if you are feeling scared, if you're feeling that this is something that you are really unsure of what to do, if this episode landed for you, I would love for you to share it with someone who needs it. Want to go deeper? I do offer a free podcast growth clarity call, and I'd love to support you on your podcasting journey. So always make sure that you lead with value, invite with love, create those echoes, and guide your clients, your future clients, your super fans into your world and make it easy to follow and like and love you. If your podcast has felt like a chore, I really hope that this episode gave you some permission to do it a little bit differently, a little softer, a little smarter, and more in tune with you. Until next time, my friends, stay beautiful. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Podcasting for Spiritual Women. If you would like more strategy and tips and some tricks on how to make your podcast better, I recommend that you join my newsletter list. You can find that at kpcreativemedia.com/newsletter. Until next time.